Hello and welcome to the Extraordinary Branding Workshop. So essentially in this video, what I'm going to do is share with you everything that I've learned about branding and try to condense it down to be as efficient as possible. So this is everything that I've learned from working with some of the most iconic brands in the world, including Adidas, Procter & Gamble, Amazon, businesses that I've partnered with or I've started up myself, as well as taking a $1,000 branding course. I'm going to share all of my learnings here, right here in this video. And all that I ask in return is if you find the video helpful, that you like, subscribe, comment below. And a lot of my content on this channel currently gears toward e-commerce sellers. But whether you sell on Amazon or online, you sell a physical product or a service, it doesn't matter. I promise you are going to find this content extremely valuable despite no matter what type of business that you have. And we'll go ahead and get into it now. So first, let's understand the difference between branding and marketing because there's a lot of misconceptions. Here's really the essence of branding versus marketing. Yes, there's more to kind of explain. There are big differences. But again, guys, I'm going to kind of run through this relatively briefly. And you can at any time pause, stop the video, go back with need be. Okay, so just want to kind of fair warning. We're going to cram a lot of value here into this video. So branding versus marketing. Really, the ultimate goal of branding is to connect with your audience, where the goal of marketing is to attract new or returning customers, okay? That's the big difference here. And yes, there's absolutely overlap, but I'm just kind of making this distinction here just so we know and we're on the same page, all right? What most people think of when they think of branding is logo, tagline, name, maybe typography, colors, things like that. That's only the tip of the iceberg. What real branding and what we're going to talk about, we're going to talk a little bit about both of these here in this video, but real branding is the branding strategy, the analysis and the strategy underneath, kind of like the bottom part of the iceberg. Your customers will not see this part. However, this is the most important, and this is what's actually going to fuel everything else, and you're going to see why, right? But we're going to base all of our decisions on data, where a lot of people don't come up from this perspective. They just kind of say, oh, I want to create a logo that I like for my company, and it's not based on any data. Where you can actually create, like I said, a data-driven analytics and strategy-driven logo, tagline, naming, all that kind of good stuff, right? That we're all going to cover. But really, we're gonna focus first on the branding strategy and the analytics. So some people may get confused by that. That is, in my opinion, true branding. It's kind of this full iceberg picture. So to really go into more detail, kind of what we're going to cover as briefly as possible is number one, audience research. So understanding your audience and your competitors, and then figuring out how to differentiate your product or service in the market. Next, we're going to define a list of values and mission for your brand to help guide it and give it some definition. Then we're going to position your brand in the market and really kind of differentiate and figure out our strategy for how are we going to fit in and appeal to our audience with all of these other competitors in the market as well. Next, we're going to breathe life into your brand by giving it a very distinct and unique brand personality and actually making it very human-like. I'm really excited about that part. I'll talk more about that later on. We'll condense all this down into a brand idea, very, very simple idea, but yet can take a little bit of time to create. And then from there, all of this data is going to fuel your tagline, your brand name, your typography, your colors, your logo, and everything else. Okay, so I hope you're excited. Without further ado, let's go ahead and actually get into branding now. But first, a little bit of a brief history. I'll go really quick through this. If you already know, you kind of skip ahead. But essentially, if we actually just kind of skip through this section right here, branding, the word came from the Old Norse word brander, which meant fire or sword, and that was around 400s AD. And then it fast forward to 1500s, farmers and shepherds would begin branding their cattle or distincting their livestock, I should say, their livestock from other farmers or other ranchers or shepherds' livestock by including a specific signature on the backside of their cattle and other livestock. Okay, so I'm not a farmer, guys. I apologize. So 1500s, fast forward to 1820s. Instead of putting our brand name or a unique mark or a distinct logo on cattle, we start to put this on, or businesses start putting this on crates. 1870s, trademark law is created in the United States. 1960s, businesses stop focusing on the features of their products and stop advertising and marketing the features, right? Kind of describing what their product does, and start attributing their product or service to an idea or to an emotion. Okay, if you ever see an Axe commercial, I used to see these all the time when I was in high school. Axe deodorant, men's deodorant, would always show maybe some slightly unattractive guys And then as soon as they kind of put on the acts, then all of a sudden these attractive women love them, right? Basically, implicitly saying, if you buy our product, then you are going to, you're going to get a girlfriend. All right, we can just say that. So that's around 1960s that really starts happening, and that's extremely prevalent now. 1984, Apple comes out with their iconic video ad, which if you haven't seen that, they have many, they have many great marketing slogans and campaigns and all of that. You can look that up yourself. But again, we're going to kind of keep it a little bit shorter here. That's just kind of a brief history of branding, where it came from. And as you can see, it's always evolving, so it's going to continue to evolve. All right. So as we said, step one is our audience research. What we want to understand with our audience research is who's our audience, what do they need, and how are we going to serve them with our brand better and differently than every single other option available? Okay, those are the questions. You can go ahead and write those down, take a screenshot. Very, very important. So who are we serving, right? And by who, what I mean is, who demographically and psychographically is your audience. And if you don't know this, this is the most important. Everything, not just your branding strategy, your marketing strategy, the success of your business really rests on this. This is like the like a solid stone foundation of a castle, of a house, right? This is the foundation of your brand. So this is extremely important to go through this exercise. Doesn't matter what kind of business you have. So demographics gear more towards statistics and numbers, where psychographics are more focused on beliefs or feelings, things like that, okay? And to really kind of put this in better perspective, common demographic questions include age, ethnicity, education, gender, and relationships. Psychographics may include more asking about a person's personality, their values, their attitudes, their interests, what they do, hobbies, lifestyles, things like this, right? So this is the big difference between demographics, psychographics. You want to, and these are very good questions to ask. These are questions you want to make sure that you understand about your audience first, okay? Some ways to do that. Number one, Google it. If you have a question about your audience, for example, let's say that you sell a product for, for parents of 14-year-olds. They're like, we know we sell a product for whatever reason. We sell products to parents of teenagers. So you may be thinking, so how old are they, right? You're trying to answer that question about how old would they be. Well, you can look up, what's the average age of a parent, of a first-time parent, right? First-time mom, first-time dad. And then you can just add years, right? If we're selling to parents of 13-year-olds, well, we know the average age when parents tend to have their first child. And then we can add that many years, 13 years, 14 years to that number. That's, so you can kind of use inductive reasoning. There's a lot of free information out there on Google. That's the first place I always start. I always say this, if Google costs money, more people would be using it because it's such a powerful tool by far. So much free data out there. Go ahead and use it, just like here on YouTube, right? Which is owned by Google. So Google it. Number two, keyword data. I won't get into too much detail, but basically analyzing keyword data is basically like reading somebody's mind. Think about it. When you have an idea, you want to buy something for your dad. You want to figure out what the best vacation destination in the United States is, right? What do? You think about it, and then you turn your thought like, what am I thinking about? How can I solve this problem that I have or this desire that I have? You turn that into a keyword that you type into Google and YouTube and all these other places, right? And you hopefully ultimately find the answer to your question or solve the issue that you have or the desire that you have. That data is captured and we store that, and then we can use that and analyze it to figure out who is our audience. What are they typing into Google and YouTube? What are they searching for? What do they want? And it's a very, very powerful source of data. People will lie to you in surveys. They will not lie to Google. They will not lie to their search bar. So this is key. One of the most powerful, if not the most powerful data that you can collect for your brand. All right. And the great part about this is you can collect free data. Actually creating this video and naming the title of this video, branding workshop, right? I actually gathered that using some of the tools that I've laid out here. So you can absolutely use this in a lot of different areas, including your branding strategy. So number one is Google Keyword Planner. It's a free tool that basically helps you analyze keywords that are typed into Google every single month. UBERSUGGEST, same idea. It's another free keyword research tool that you can use. You essentially type in a keyword, and then UBERSUGGEST is going to show you some other similar related keywords along with their search volume, how competitive they are for advertising or for SEO, things like that. But you can kind of keep it simple and just look at, keyword volume to where you can see, oh, my audience is much more interested in X topic over Y topic. So, so maybe I could differentiate and I could really serve them in this way that my competitor is failing. Okay, so that's just an idea. Answer the Public, another great tool. It's a reverse search engine. So usually when people go to a search engine like Google, you'll go to Google and you'll type in a question in order to get an answer. This is the other way around. You type in a certain keyword, and instead of answer the public showing you answers or try to find solutions or results, what you're going to find are questions relating to that. So it's great for research purposes, to where you can type in a specific keyword. This could be for a product that you're trying to sell online. This could be for your service, a service that you provide, and you can find common questions or pain points that people have with that topic. Okay, and again, I'm not going to go into a ton of detail here. I do have, and again, I'm not trying to promote it, but I do have a $10 branding course. It's like 3 hours long. It goes into a lot more detail. You can learn more there if you're interested on any of these topics that we're going to cover. But again, I'm not trying to really push it out. I really want to provide as much value. But if you want to learn more, that's a great place. Also, take note and then go on Google and YouTube, find the free information out there as well, right? So there's always free options as well, and I want to help you out as much as possible. So Answer the Public's great. Another great source of data is review data. Another very powerful, I would say keyword data may be one of the most, if not the most powerful source of data. Review data would be the most underutilized powerful source of data, right? A lot of people don't look at this for their analysis and understanding their audience, okay? Great sources for reviews, depending on what your business is, include Google, Facebook, Yelp, Amazon, Glassdoor, TripAdvisor, the Better Business Bureau, Foursquare, and there are many, many others. But you can just kind of figure out what industry you are in. And then you can, it will make more sense. Like if you're a restaurant, definitely, Yelp, Facebook reviews, Google reviews would be up there. If you're selling products online, Amazon reviews, Etsy reviews, eBay reviews would be up there, etc. Right? So it really depends on your industry. But these are just some examples. And when reading through reviews, what I'd recommend is reading through at least 100 reviews and try to answer these 4 questions. And I know I'm covering up the last one, but you want to understand who is buying on a demographic and psychographic level. For example, if you see, Jennifer, Stephanie, Tiffany, Brittany, Alexandra, all these names show up, and this is like 70% of reviews have a female name. You can assume that 70%, around roughly 70% of those customers for that product or that service, right, are female. So that's just a data point, and you can kind of infer from review data and kind of help you support some of your other analysis. So understand who, what are they, what event or reason are they buying? What kind of activity are they buying for? What benefits do they get from existing products? What are existing products and services doing really well? And then also pain points. What are current businesses, brands, products, services not doing well, right? And in this case, 4-star reviews and 2-star reviews are very powerful. Those are better for analysis purposes than 5-star and 1-star, because think about it. A 4-star review is somebody basically saying, I love the product, but this. So if you read through a lot of 4-star reviews, you're going to find, I'm a really happy customer, but I wish this brand or this company did this thing differently. And guess what? You can be the brand to come in and do that thing differently. All right, very powerful. Next, social listening, really, really simple. But essentially, we're going to listen to what people are saying about our brand or our a certain product or service online. Okay, so a great source for this are Facebook groups. In this case, right, let's say I'm a marketing agency for small businesses. I will go to Facebook, type in the term small business, and then join a bunch of groups relating to small businesses. And then I'll see, what are people posting about? What do people like? What do they dislike? What do they want? And it's a great way to really understand and actually connect and network potentially with your future or your existing clients or customers. Okay, so Facebook groups are great. Reddit is another great source. So looking at subreddits, again, same idea. And if you're not too familiar with Reddit, again, a lot of free info online. LinkedIn's another great source. So in this case, right, maybe I want to understand, what do people want to learn or know about the topic of branding? So I go to LinkedIn, I type in hashtag branding, because LinkedIn for some time now has enabled hashtags. So I can find all this content. What are people talking about branding? I can look at the comment section of different posts that people have and understand, what people liked or disliked about current posts, current content, things like that, okay? And I can also follow certain hashtags. Like in this case, I can follow the hashtag branding. So when people are posting with the hashtag branding, the LinkedIn will alert me. It'll give me a notification, and I can go ahead and check on that new post and stay up to date. All right. Another great source is HASHTAGIFY. So again, I want to see, which hashtags are most popular. This is great if you want to use hashtags, for example, for Instagram, for Pinterest, for LinkedIn, for wherever. It's a great tool, but also you can see, this hashtag is much more popular than this hashtag. You can also find related hashtags, kind of like keyword research, but with hashtags. Okay, that's kind of how you can think about it. right? And then here's just an example of some of the free data, by the way, the free data that HASHTAGIFY provides. Some other social, and not all of these are social media platforms technically, but some platforms that are really great for social listening include Facebook, Reddit, LinkedIn, Quora. Quora is an extremely popular question and answer website. Instagram, Twitter, and Pinterest. Really, really great platforms. Also, can be great platforms for your brand to be a part of, okay? So yeah, last point here for our audience research is Google Analytics. If you have a brand website, right? You have a website for your company and you're not using Google Analytics, stop the video, do this now. Google Analytics is basically a free tool, like 100% free, no catch, nothing like that. And basically what you do is you take this code, you create a Google Analytics account, and then they're going to give you a code. Take that code. You're going to either tell your developer, or you can do this yourself, which can be relatively easy. You basically take that code and insert it into the code, of your website. Okay. From there, it's really easy to do. It sounds complicated. It's really not. From there, Google will begin analyzing data of people who visit your website. What time did they visit? From where in the world or what states are they visiting from? How much time are they spending on the page? What sources are they coming from? Social media sources or blogs, or where are they coming from? All this kind of great data, really, really great for building out a demographic portfolio of or demographic profile of your audience. Very powerful for that. Here's just some other data. Only 3 data points. There are a lot of other great data that Google Analytics collects, and it's completely free. So again, I'd recommend doing that right now. It's free to do. Go ahead and do that if you haven't already. A lot of powerful data. And yes, that concludes the first section. And don't worry, all the other sections are not going to be this long-winded. Like I said, the audience research section is the most important, which is why I've spent the most time on it. Okay, but I will not be going into that much detail for the rest of the sections. They're still extremely important. But they're not, in my opinion, they're not nearly as important as really understanding who your audience is, what they want, what they don't want, okay? So next step is understanding the competition, okay? Really briefly, just go to Google, type in keywords that specifically describe your business, and then find your top 5 to 10 competitors, and then answer these questions. Where's your strength? Where does your brand excel? Where does your brand maybe fall short that you can improve? So what are your weaknesses? Where do you fall short? And then also, where are there opportunities to excel in the marketplace? Okay, maybe what are your competitors maybe not doing so well? Maybe you looked at review data and you found, okay, a lot of 4-star, 2-star, 1-star reviews are written about this type of topic. So maybe that's an opportunity for me to improve. So what are some opportunities out there in the market? And then also threats. What are some threats that could hurt your brand in the future? And again, you're going to get a better understanding of how to answer these questions by analyzing your competitors, just taking that list of your top 5 to 10 competitors. Okay, pretty simple. And then lastly, differentiation. Okay, essentially, you need to ask this question about your brand or your business. All right, and it's insane. I would say the vast majority of brands or really businesses, companies do not ask this, and it is so crucial. Okay, to really being extraordinary, to being successful, because you can get by and not answer this question, but to really be successful, you can't do it without answering this. So what benefit do you give your audience that they cannot obtain anywhere else? If you can't answer this question, it's okay if it takes you some time to answer, but if you really can't, you're like, I don't know. That's good that you identified it, but that's also a big problem, because it's good because you have an opportunity, right? That could be your opportunity to improve. That's a bad thing, because if you maintain that course, right, and you're basically not offering anything differently or in a different way, in a different place, at a different time, all that kind of stuff, if you're not differentiated, then why would someone choose you over every single one of your competitors? Okay, very important to ask, and this can only be answered after you've kind of collected your data. So again, very important. Some ideas for differentiation, again, depending on your product, if you have a product or a service, quality, design, the visuals, the graphic design, the experience that you offer, the origin of, so for example, made in USA, made in Germany, that might sell better than something made in China, for example. Or, we only staff American workers. We don't outsource our jobs somewhere else. That could be very, very powerful. Or eco-friendly, things like that. It originates, fair trade, all that kind of stuff. Social. So what I mean by social is kind of more certain social causes. For example, maybe you donate 1% of profit, 10% of profit towards a certain cause. Or an example is Tom's shoes, where you buy a pair of Tom's shoes. Tom's, gives a pair for free to a developing country. However, I won't go into that, but Tom's shoes is really kind of screw up certain economies. So just be careful in certain causes that you choose. Convenience. Do you offer your product or service more conveniently than anybody else? A great example would be Walgreens on the corner of happy and healthy. So you've heard that, right? Their slogan or their tagline of, Walgreens, the corner of happy and healthy. And you think, oh, that's nice. But you don't realize that Walgreens' strategy, right? What we're covering right now, their brand strategy, their positioning is really convenience. Okay, that's actually one of their biggest differentiator is being more convenient than any other, than CVS or Rite Aid or any of their top competitors. Okay, so that's convenience. And then finally, customer service. For this, you can kind of think Amazon is great with their customer service. Zappos is another great example of customer service. So these are just some ideas to help you differentiate. But of course, there are definitely more. All right. So we covered audience. Finally, I know it was a lot, right? Like I said, we won't spend as much time. Things will move a lot faster from this point on. And next, we're going to cover defining a set of values and a mission statement for our brand. So extraordinary branding, values, and mission. Core values are the fundamental beliefs upon which your business and its behaviors are based. What I'd recommend that you do if you want to learn more about core values, go ahead and just type in some of your favorite companies. So whatever your favorite brands are, type in the brand name. For example, in my case, it might be Adidas. I love Adidas. So Adidas, core values. And then you'll find the company's core values there. That's a great way to find some examples, okay? Developing core values for your business, what I'd recommend doing is determining a short list of values that really describe your business, and then creating a statement or sentence that really expands upon that value, and then that will kind of create your list of core values. And I recommend anywhere from like 3 to 5. You can have 1 for whatever reason, although I don't think that would be very effective. You can have 10, you have 20, right? But usually, for me personally, I like to be probably somewhere between 3 to 7. But again, it totally depends. You're the boss. It's up to you. So some examples. This would be like an example from Google. Not that this is, but this would be kind of a representation. So, for example, maybe their values include the user is king, speed, democracy, right? They value democracy. They value money, ethics, and money. They value improvement, constantly improving. Those are their values. And then they expand on that and then create, for example, for a user is king, value the user, right? Focus on the user, everything else will follow. For speed, fast is better than slow. Democracy on the web works. Ethics, make money without doing evil. Constantly being proven, great isn't good enough, right? So they always want to improve. So there's just something, that's just a little example, but again, you can look up plenty of examples online, just developing your brand values. And then lastly, a mission statement. This is simply a statement that defines what an organization is, why it exists, and its reason for being. So you have to think, aside from making money, that's the key here, because of course, we're all in business to make money, but aside from that, what is the purpose of your brand on this earth and for its existence? Why is it here? What is its goal, right? Or what's its mission? And there's a common misconception between mission and vision. They kind of sound similar. And the best way I can describe it is vision. Vision is kind of an idea of the future, a goal that your brand wants to achieve. Your mission is what you do on a day-to-day basis in order to achieve that vision, okay? Really, really, really simple. That's just the distinction I want to make. And you can ask this question, to develop your mission statement, kind of like with differentiation, right? What is your brand committed to today in order to achieve your vision of the future, right? Tomorrow. So what you're committed to today in order to achieve your vision. So you can go ahead and create your vision. Just a general, it can be rough. Done is better than perfect. That's something from Facebook. And I absolutely live by that. So just getting started is better than making everything perfect. So create, a vision for your brand. Just draft something, even if it looks crappy. Create a mission statement. Get some values down on paper, and then refine and work it later. So you can go ahead and pause, do that, or you can keep watching. We're going to keep chugging through here. Okay, so now we're going to get into brand positioning. We've already covered audience research, values, and mission, and now brand positioning. Okay, so brand positioning, essentially our goal is to occupy a specific position in the mind of our customer. Okay, that's our goal. And a visual representation of that would be something like this. Okay, what you're looking at here is what's called a perceptual map. Again, I'm really guys, I'm not trying to promote this. I have a $10 branding course, and I literally walk you through step by step how to create these perceptual maps. You can also find a lot of great free content online. So just letting you know that, not going to go do a ton of detail because that would literally be an hour video of itself. So This is just an example of a perceptual map. Essentially, this, all these, this could be a market research agency, or it could be in one of these brands, or a new, dating app brand surveyed people who use dating apps and asked them, where do you think this brand falls in terms of, being more general, being more niche, being more, are you in a more committed relationship, uncommitted relationship, etc. Right? Just one example, but essentially, right, you can collect data using survey data, and then position your brand and your competitors' brands on a map like this, right? And you can create multiple of these. And then what your goal is to kind of find white spaces. You want to find blank spaces. These are opportunities. These are places that you can position your brand, your product, your service. I like the majority of human beings on the face of the earth are much more visual learners, which is why I really, really like these. You don't need these in order to really kind of develop a way to position your brand, or a strategy to position your brand, but it is very helpful. So this is one example. Here's another that you may be more familiar with. So in the first example, we had dating apps. In this example, we have different soft drinks, right? Pepsi, Coca-Cola, Sprite, Diet Coke, Fanta, all of these, right? And this is just kind of an area that we could position, making a more fun, yet less sweet soft drink. And then lastly, this is probably my favorite example. It's probably the most realistic, although it's not necessarily accurate. It's the most realistic, is different coffee shops, right? Which I kind of made this up, but more sit down or comfortable places versus more fast and convenient. It's not necessarily good versus bad. For example, it's not good versus bad. It's more, one type versus another type. For example, somewhere sit down and comfortable is good for some people, but people who are in a rush, it's not good for them. Same way with fast and convenient. People who are in a rush, they love it. People who want to enjoy and sit down and maybe meet with a friend or a colleague, maybe not as nice, right? And then also, do they have more limited selection or more variety of selection, right? And as we see here from this perceptual map, our top competitors do not offer a wide variety with a fast and convenient type of service. Okay, so this could be an opportunity if we're going to start a coffee shop in the Seattle area. This could be an opportunity for us. But again, you want to make sure you collect some other data as well. This is just one data point, but very, very powerful. So this is a perceptual map, an example. You can use that to influence this, or you can just skip over it and just go straight to the positioning template. Ultimately, this is going to solidify your brand's positioning. So you need to answer these questions. So we help blank who have these pain points to achieve certain key benefits. Unlike your top competitors, our solution is to do X, Y, and Z, or to offer X, Y, and Z, right? And then you finalize with your differentiation. But we help these people to do this, or we help these people who experience these problems to achieve, this goal, this benefit. Unlike your top competitors, our solution is to do things differently, right? That's it in a nutshell. You can take a screenshot of this. You can write this down. Feel free to. And you want to make sure you have this to solidify your brand positioning. Okay. Here's an example. This is just using an example I pull this directly from my course. But we help for example, and this could even be maybe this could be potentially a consultant that gives free information online. But we help small business owners, startups, and freelancers who struggle to strategically stand out in their industry to build an extraordinary brand they are proud of on an extremely tight budget. And then in this case, unlike other Udemy courses, unlike other maybe consultants, our solution is to cut off the needless fluff and use practical, data-driven, step-by-step processes that our clients can use the same day to build an extraordinary brand, right? That's just an example of a positioning statement that I actually use. And that covers the positioning section. I promise we're going to kind of move through. So we covered audience, values and mission, our positioning strategy, and now we're going to breathe life into your brand and develop a brand personality, okay? So here's the premise. I know we're covering a lot. If you need to pause, feel free. I know I talk really fast, but I'm trying to cover as much in one. Instead of making a ton of YouTube videos or only giving the information in a course, I really want to give you guys some value to work with. So feel free to pause if it's too much, but we'll go ahead and get into it. So brand personality is based on the premise that we connect with brands like we connect with people. This is a fact, period. Human beings are wired to connect with other human beings, okay, and other animals and things in nature as well, but really to connect with other human beings. So if our brand can become more human-like in the way that we speak, that we act, that we think, then we're going to be able to better connect with our audience than our competitors who are more robotic, more, technical, corporate-like, very almost like a machine. We're going to become much more human-like, right? And to help us do that, we're going to utilize the power of archetypes. So I'm not going to go into a ton of detail about archetypes. You can look this up online. It is a little bit difficult to explain, but essentially archetypes are subconscious symbols that we're all born with. You and me, all of us are born with. And these symbols in our minds help us make sense of the world. They basically help us figure out who do we like, who do we not like, who are we compatible with, okay? And essentially, there are really 12 defined that agreed upon archetypes that every human being kind of falls into and is personified by. And I'm sure, you know, if I were to go and explain this in more detail, it would click like there are certain people that definitely describe this. There are definitely certain brands that definitely described by this. But the 12 archetypes are as follows. There is the innocent, the sage, the explorer, the outlaw, the magician, the hero, the lover, the jester, the everyman, the caregiver, the ruler, and the artist, also known as the creator. Okay, and some of these will have different names, but I'd really recommend you look more into this. Essentially, what you're going to do is find which one or two archetypes, you know, maybe blended together, best represent your brand. Okay, your positioning, you know, your brand, your values, all of that. Which one or two of these archetypes best describes you? And what that's going to really help you do is to, number one, you're tapping into human psychology, right? Into human beings, into something that's, you know, factually like in our minds. And then also it's going to help you because each archetype comes with a whole set of, you know, values and characteristics. And you can kind of like copy and paste those for your brand. And then I'm also going to show you some other things to really help you differentiate. So you're not going to be the same as everyone else. Even if everyone was using archetypes, I'm going to help you differentiate your brand within that archetype. Okay. So really, really briefly, without going into too much detail, because again, that would take literally an hour or more. The innocent, the sage, and the explorer all ultimately desire spiritual journey, and this is what they represent. All right. The outlaw, the magician, the hero, their goal is to leave a legacy, to leave a mark on the world. The lover, the jester, and the everyman, their ultimate goal is to establish connection, to connect with others. And the caregiver, the ruler, and the artist, their ultimate goal is to provide structure or to create structure. Okay, that's just kind of a really brief overview. Again, a lot of great free info online, a lot of great info in the course as well, if you're interested. And then here's how we're going to kind of help. So we choose an archetype or two for our brand personality. Here's where we're going to differentiate ourselves and really define and create guardrails for our brand. So go through the statement. I like to do around 5. Again, there's no right or wrong answer here, but this is just what I like to do with myself and my clients, is define who we are and who we are not. Okay. So we are blank, but we are not blank, and develop 5. So this is going to help you kind of develop parameters, develop guardrails for your brand's personality. Here's just a few examples. We are intelligent, but we are not academic. We are ruthless, but we're not heartless. We're caring, but we're not naive. Right? And that's a pretty powerful combination there. I've just kind of made these up on the spot. But again, what you're not doing is choosing opposites. For example, we are intelligent and we're not stupid. We're ruthless, but we're not, you know, cowards. We're caring, but we're not heartless. Like that wouldn't make sense because you already know. This kind of helps you, like, we're intelligent, but there's a lot of different types of intelligence. Okay. So, you know, there's academic, you know, kind of like book smarts versus street smarts. So what kind of better defines your brand? You know, maybe you are ruthless toward, for example, the Alzheimer's Association. They're ruthless in eliminating Alzheimer's from the face of the earth, but they're not heartless. They're actually the exact opposite. They're very, very caring and you know, heartful. So they're ruthless in their persistence, but if they didn't better define their brand, you could get a very wrong perspective, or they internally could have a very wrong perspective of their brand, and so on. So I hope that makes sense. And of course, guys, if you have questions about anything at all, please let me know in the comment section, and I'll be more than happy to help for free. You don't need to pay me anything in the comment section. And yes, so next, defining our personality, we're going to create a visual persona. Again, we want to make our brand as human-like as possible. The more human-like, the more we're going to be able to connect, which is the whole point of branding, right? It's to connect with our audience, which can ultimately make all of our other marketing efforts significantly more efficient. So again, this is all internally, guys. This is all, you know, for you, for your team, for your employees and all that. This is not what the customers see. And essentially what you want to do is just type in some keywords. Like, just think, if your brand was a human being, what kind of person would they be? Would they be male? Would they be female? Young or old? Would they be more rebellious or more conforming? Would they be more elite or more, you know, I don't know, whatever characteristics, you know, your archetype, your brand personality. You can kind of type those keywords into Google or Pinterest and help find some images. and keep searching until you find maybe 1 or 2 images that you believe basically, if my brand was a person, this is who they would be. And no, if my brand was a person, it may not be this woman here, maybe the one holding a drink, maybe, I don't know, because I do like pina coladas, but and I like wearing leotards, so, but maybe not. We'll keep moving forward. So yeah, Pinterest, another great source because Pinterest is not a social media platform, it's a visual search engine. A lot of people get that wrong because they kind of market themselves as a social media platform, but it's a really great place for visual analysis, okay, along with Google Images. So we covered all this thus far. I won't recap. We already know what we've covered this far. We're going to take everything that we've learned to this point and we're going to condense it down into our brand essence, also known as our brand idea. Very, very simple, yet may take a little bit of time. Some of you will take longer, some of you a little bit shorter. But essentially a brand idea is, it's an idea captured in a simple, meaningful phrase that expresses, again, the essence of a brand, the true core, the essence of a brand. All right. So a lot of people will get brand idea and tagline mixed up because I may have just read that description or that definition and you immediately thought, isn't that just a tagline or a slogan? No, it's very different. Now here's the thing. If you think about like squares and rectangles, a square, or what is it? A square can be a rectangle can't be a square. It's kind of like that situation here. So your brand idea can actually be your tagline. Okay, so this can happen, but just because it can happen doesn't mean it happens all the time. It doesn't mean they're the same. Okay, that's the distinction I want to make. Your brand idea is kind of like your internal tagline. Okay, it's the essence of your brand for you and your employees, for your brand internally. A tagline, that's external. That's for your customers to see. That's for you to put on all your marketing material, all of that. So that's the difference. Brand idea is internal, tagline is external. Okay, just to kind of solidify this, here's some examples. And again, these are kind of made up examples. They're not necessarily 100% accurate, but this is purely kind of help differentiate in your mind brand idea from tagline. So Volvo, brand idea, safety. Literally one word. Remember the absolute essence, right? There's more to their brand than safety, but this is the essence of their brand is safety. Their tagline, Volvo for life. So they tell customers and want customers to think of them Volvo for life, but their brand idea is safety. And really, the ultimate goal here, and you see they're kind of linked, there's some similarities there, but they're not the same. Brand idea, maybe internally, that's what you want customers to think of when they think of your brand. But in order to get someone to think of your brand, you can't necessarily, put it out there like, hey, everyone, we're safe. We're really safe. Then people might be like, well, then if you were safe, why would you say that? Because then it kind of makes you seem like you're unsafe, whatever, that kind of whole thing. So internally, they want everyone to think of them as safe. But they can't tell everyone, otherwise people won't think that they're safe. So they have to be creative and kind of develop another tagline. At least that's my opinion. Okay. So Volvo, we have Ben & Jerry's. So Ben & Jerry's brand idea is linked prosperity. Their tagline is peace, love, and ice cream. You can see that very kind of similar. Starbucks, their brand idea, again, this is an example of a brand idea, would be reward everyday moments. So they want, when people want to reward, not like a huge reward, like, oh, I'm going to go buy a new house or a car, which would be insane. But, or go on vacation, right? But just kind of like, they want to feel good. They did something that they want to reward themselves on kind of a smaller level, on a day-to-day level. The first place that they want people to think of is Starbucks. Like they want to be the top of mind. But they can't tell people that. You can't be like, hey, if you want to reward your everyday experience, come to Starbucks, right? They have to be more creative. So their tagline could be something like inspire and nurture the human spirit. Okay, so that's their tagline. And we have Campbell's, like Campbell's Chicken Noodle Soup, the Campbell's Company. Their brand idea, comfort food. When people think comfort food, they think Campbell's. That's what we want internally, but our tagline is good, right? The similarity there, it's all about the taste. It's all about the feeling. Feeling good, feeling happy after you eat something, not necessarily healthy. So yeah, comfort food, good. And that tagline is actually is a real tagline. It's been around for, I think, since the 1930s. So it's been around, very successful for a while. So that's brand idea. Go ahead and do that now. And again, there's no right or wrong. Just try to drill down everything we've talked about to this point and create the essence, a statement, or even one word like Volvo did, or 2 words to describe the essence of your brand. Okay. And then from there, we're going to develop our brand tagline. And this is where, if you refer to my analogy before, we break from below the iceberg, which is the branding side that's internal. It's the branding side that a lot of customers don't see. And we are now going to break above the surface and talk about all that kind of fun stuff. The first thing people think of when they think of branding, which include, taglines and names and all that kind of stuff. So in this case, we're going to create our brand tagline. And a tagline, you know exactly what it is, but it's a phrase that summarizes the key benefits your brand offers. It's really that simple. So think about the key benefits your brand offers, create a tagline out of that, all right? Real quick, difference between tagline and slogan. No, they're not the same. Tagline, that is for your brand. A slogan is for a specific marketing campaign. Now, sometimes a company will, or a brand will love a certain marketing campaign slogan so much that they make it their official brand tagline, or the other way around. Maybe there's a certain campaign and they use their brand's tagline as a slogan as well. So again, same idea with brand idea versus tagline. There's some overlap here, but just because they can be the same doesn't mean that they are the same, okay? So that's the difference between tagline and slogan, just so you know. Here are some examples of popular taglines. Headspace, an app that I personally use and absolutely love. Headspace, treat your head right. Dollar Shave Club, shave time, shave money. Dollar Shave Club does a really great job of embodying the jester archetype. So you can do your own research, but think about the jester archetype in Dollar Shave Club. Subway, eat fresh, really simple and really embodies, right? So many different things come out with the word eat fresh, right? You think of healthy food. You think of like fresh tasting food. You think of a good feeling refreshed afterwards, right? A lot of connotation with the word eat fresh, very powerful tagline. McDonald's, I'm loving it. Apple, think different, which I absolutely love. And then, of course, the most iconic, couldn't leave it out, Nike, just do it, right? Branding, just do it. Okay, really simple exercise that you can use to help develop your tagline includes, basically, you can use this could be on a sheet of paper. You could do this in Excel or Google Sheets. Think about what are the core going back to all the research we've done so far, what are the core benefits that your brand provides? So write down that benefit, and then underneath, go to a thesaurus like, you can just Google thesaurus online, and that's going to help you find synonyms. Or you can just type in, for example, a certain type of benefit, and then type in benefit synonyms for, X, this word. And then you'll find synonyms for that. So benefit at the top, and then underneath, list all different words with the same meaning, other synonyms underneath, and do that multiple times. So list out multiple benefits, multiple synonyms for each benefit. And here's just an example. Again, totally made this up, but complete. We have synonyms include full, total, whole, entire, convenient, easy, handy, useful, at hand. We just want to kind of break this out and really have as many options as possible and really get our creativity flowing. And what we're going to do is once we kind of break all this out, right, and have all these different benefits and synonyms, we're going to choose, highlight, or select the best that we believe, or the words that best describe our brand or the benefits of our brand, okay? You're going to take those, put those into a short list, which you can see here. So you take that keyword, expand out with a sentence. Take another keyword, expand out with the sentence. So this could be one keyword. You can take 2 keywords, 3 keywords, right? Kind of put them all together, keep them all separate, but create a multiple. And this is going to help you develop your tagline. So if you think about it, everything's building on each other, all the way from, again, the base of audience research. Everything is ultimately being built off of that. So your tagline isn't just something that sounds good, which it will, but it's also something that's baked in data, right? So you're actually making a data-driven decision on something that seems just so creative and that doesn't really require data. But you'd be shocked. Again, I've worked in market research with some very large and iconic global brands. There's a lot of data that goes behind their branding moves and marketing campaigns and all of that. A lot more than what I think a lot of people think, even those that are in marketing and in branding. So developing your tagline. Okay, so we developed the tagline. Next, we'll create a brand name, right? Because again, becoming as human as possible is going to help humans connect with us. People that buy and spend money are humans, so we want them to connect, right? So developing our brand name. Here, keep it really simple. This is something, guys, no branding consultant, expert, whatever talks about, and it's so important, okay? Creating a name that sounds good, that's important, okay? It's definitely important. You can also get away and absolutely be highly successful with weird names. Think about the brand Kodak, Apple, right? We think of Apple now, we're like, oh, Apple products. Oh, Apple is so cool. But like the word Apple, like think about when they were starting off, how weird that would have sounded, right? But despite their name, or maybe because of their name, they become so successful. So don't get hung up on, I have to have the best name. Your brand will not make or break based on the name. It's not going to determine the success of your company. It can absolutely help. Absolutely. Is it important? Yes. But is it detrimental if you get it wrong? No, not at all. In my opinion, not at all. And there's plenty of data to support it. You can go out and look at yourself for many successful brands and companies that maybe haven't chosen or originally chose the best brand name. But again, it is important. So I'm sure I'll get comments about that. So four types of names from a legal standpoint. So number one, descriptive. Number two, suggestive. Number three is arbitrary. And number four is fanciful. Fanciful brand names are the most easy to trademark, okay? Because if you're a small business, a freelancer, a startup, or whoever, you probably want to create a name that you can trademark, right? That's going to increase the value of your brand if you ever want to sell to an investor, but it also helps protect your brand, okay? So it's very, very important to trademark your name. And if you want to really make sure you trademark your name, this doesn't just guarantee, but having a made up or a more fanciful brand name will help you to do that more than these other types. However, you can absolutely have a descriptive, suggestive, or arbitrary name that is able to be trademarked. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Just a little hint or tip that I want to throw out because it's very important, very important. So descriptive names basically describe the good or service being offered. Really straightforward. You can think of Bank of America, like, Bank of America is Bank of America. Very descriptive. Suggestive suggests the quality or nature of the brand without directly describing it. This could be, you can think of Greyhound buses. It's a line of like mega buses that travel around the country. Okay. Greyhound dogs are very fast dogs. So if you use the brand name Greyhound, people automatically think fast. Okay. Speed, right? That's one of their differentiation points or one of their benefits, right? Is how fast they get you from point A to point B. Arbitrary. These are common meanings that are unrelated to the brand. So common words that have nothing to do with the brand. A great example, apple. So an apple is a fruit that you eat, and then it's also it's apple, right? It's what we usually think of Apple and Macintosh computers and all that kind of stuff, right? And then fanciful names. These are just names that are kind of made up, for lack of a better word. They are created, fictitious names. A great example is Kodak. Kodak is a made up word. It's nothing. It's not a bear. It's not a tree. It's nothing. It's just a made up word. Okay. So for your naming exercise, similar with developing your tagline, right? And this doesn't have to necessarily be benefits, but write different keywords. So go back maybe to the archetype and the brand personality section and start writing down some keywords that relate to or describe your brand. And then underneath each, have a synonym, develop a list of synonyms for each keyword. For example, fun, in travel, we have all these synonyms underneath, pretty straightforward. Take what you feel best describes your brand, highlight those, put them into a short list. And then for each of those, that you highlighted, put that on a piece of paper, write down some secondary that can either be synonyms or they can be words that relate to that keyword. And then from there, you branch out and create more. So tertiary or, kind of third, a third kind of keyword that, again, could be a synonym. This could be a keyword that relates and so on. And this is going to just help really expand and grow your creativity for creating your brand name and give you all these different kind of words that you can use, maybe perhaps use the word itself for your brand name. You can use it and kind of make up a word around that brand name. There's a lot that you can do with it, but it's going to help you think of things you didn't think of before. So just a great way to kind of get out of your own head. Really, really great exercise I recommend doing. It's called a mind map. So create a mind map. Some just general naming criteria. Do not focus on this first. Just focus on kind of like, brain vomit. Just get everything in your mind out on paper first. Then, because otherwise this is going to constrict the creative process. Then afterwards go through and kind of try to find some ideas that you have that meet this criteria. So this is just some general criteria. Again, doesn't have to meet this criteria. Just something that's maybe good to think about. Is your name easy to spell? So when people go to type it into Google to look for your website or look for your company, is it easy to spell? Is it catchy? So is it, kind of memorable? Is it meaningful, right? Does it evoke some kind of emotion? Is it unique? Is it very, very similar? Like Bank of America. Then we have like Bank of California. We have Bank of Cincinnati. Is it really unique? Enduring. Will it endure the test of time? Is it just really trendy and cool right now? Will it be trendy and cool in the future, right? Is it going to stand the test of time? Do you think that it will? And then lastly, does it sound good? Ask friends and family members. If you have social media, if you have an email list, reach out, ask your customers, your clients, does this name sound good? Yes or no? Or just not even that, maybe what do you think about this name, right? Involve them in the process. They can be very, very helpful and really excited to do that. Some ideas for naming. So this is just some ideas you could come up with. And these are some ideas personally that I use. Names that rhyme. For a great brand name that rhymes, you can think of Mensch on a bench. It's a toy specifically designed for Jewish children for Hanukkah. Basically, Neil Hoffman, the creator of Mensch on a Bench, who I actually know personally, he's a great guy, saw that there are a bunch of toys for Christian kids or for secular kids. There's nothing for like, for Christmas time, there's nothing for Jewish kids. So he created Mensch on a Bench, which is a really great product. Kind of tells like the Jewish story, along with this little stuffed Mensch, which is kind of like Yiddish for a wise old man as well. So it rhymes. Mensch on a Bench was featured on Shark Tank. It's the one product that has got the most social media, engagement. So the most basically retweets, shares, mentions on YouTube, all of this on social media of all the other Shark Tank brands. It hasn't made the most money, but it is the most spoken, basically. It's the most spoken name. And if you think about some of the best music, I should say some of the most popular music that exists today, rap, hip hop, right? What do the creators of that music do, right? They rhyme. I don't know what it is, guys. This is like a project of mine, figuring out why rhyming is so powerful in the human mind, but it is really great. Moving on, naming ideas, objects. Again, Apple is highly successful, named after an apple. But you can kind of look at different animals, nature, right? Things or trees and flowers, and if it makes sense, right? Nature, mythology. As an example, a lot of the Adidas logo, right? Their trefoil logo is very, very iconic. It's kind of those. It's not the three stripes. It's like the three, kind of like looks like a leaf. It's a trefoil. It's actually a plant in nature, and that's where they got the inspiration. It's actually from nature. So there's a lot of great iconic brands or logos that are inspired from nature. Greek mythology, Roman mythology, Norse mythology, Egyptian, all that kind of stuff. Languages, you can kind of look at different, like look at Greek, look at Latin, look at Hungarian, look at Cherokee, look at these different languages. You can find very interesting names. An example of this would be the Oros company. Oros means mountain in Greek, and the company designs outerwear specifically for hiking high altitudes, okay, and keep you warm, lightweight and warm in very high altitudes, on mountains. So, and it sounds really cool too, right? So Oros, very, very good use of using the Greek language. Merging, you can merge two words or keywords together. Double entendre, kind of like two double meanings or play on words, things like that. There's a lot of options you can do. This is just a very limited list, but hopefully that kind of helps you out. Next, really briefly touching on trademarking, which I mentioned before. Essentially, you want to make sure that your brand name is not the same spelling or sound to any competitor in your industry. Now, a great example of this, of two similar sounding brands, and I believe this is correct. There's the Pepsi-Cola company, which we all know, Pepsi, the Pepsi you drink. There's also the Pepsi Trucking Company, which I believe, and I could be wrong, it's either the Northeast or it is in the South. But anyway, Pepsi tried to sue the Pepsi-Cola, try to sue the Pepsi Trucking Company because they had the word Pepsi, but they lost because they're two different industries. So if you're competing in two different industries and you have the same name or similar sounding name, again, I'm not a lawyer, so I can't tell you you're going to be okay, but you have better chances of being able to trademark that name. But if you are in this similar industry, if you're in the beverages industry, for example, you try to name your product Pepsi, you're going to get in trouble. Okay, so just be aware of that. Trademark.it is a great tool. So just what I would recommend, if you have a brand name that you really like, take that brand name, plug it into trademark.it.com, and that's going to kind of, and then also type different variations, so slightly different spellings of that name, hit the search bar, and it's going to help you make sure that there's no other similar trademarks for that name. And also I would recommend Googling, look at GoDaddy.com. GoDaddy is a domain provider to see if your brand name is already taken. You want to make sure you can create a website, right? So make sure your domain isn't taken, all that kind of stuff. So just look up like yourbrandname.com, look in Trademark.it, look in Google, make sure it's not used, make sure it's not infringing on anyone else's trademark. Very important. Nobody covers that in branding because it's not sexy and it's not cool. Next, typography. Really what I mean by typography is your brand's font. Your font is a collection of characters with a similar design. The top font types include, I know I'm going fast, guys, serif font, sans serif font, script, and decorative. What I'd recommend that you do for your brand, just as a very simple exercise, choose two font types, or two fonts, I should say, a main font and a secondary font. For example, in this course, you can actually see it right here on this slide. I have chosen Avenir Heavy as my main font, and for my titles and for headings, and then Avenir Book, which is another font type for my kind of for paragraphs, for definition, for my secondary spelling, secondary font types. And I'll get into what actually have Avenir as an example, but so number one, serif font. Serif font is common in traditional print media. It's easier to read in printed material. And it's defined by kind of these like edges, these lines at the edge of the letter, right? So if you think about like a typewriter or like a printing press or a newspaper, serif font is very, very popular, very common. It's been around for a long time. Okay, some examples of serif font include the following, which I won't get into too much detail here. Next, we have sans serif fonts. Sans is French. It ultimately was Latin for without. And, without serif, okay, so it basically means, more clean cut, does not have that additional kind of like little creative edge or line to it. So yeah, they're clean, they're modern, they're easy to read on digital. A lot of tech companies and software companies will utilize sans serif fonts. And actually, sans serif fonts, I've found overall, are becoming more and more popular among brands. And a lot have, over the past 10 years, have really been changing some certain brand identity from serif to sans serif. Okay, and I love sans serif font, by the way. I love them all, but I like this one the most. So some examples include Arial, Avenir, that's what I use as Avenir, Geneva, Helvetica, Tahoma, and there's so many more. These are just some examples. And then here's some examples of sans serif being used in brands, like I said before, kind of a lot of shift away from, from Google, look before and after, look at, Spotify or Pinterest or eBay, both kind of more tech online companies as well as more traditional companies as well are utilizing more sans serif fonts. But again, your goal isn't to blend in, it's to stand out. So maybe you want to do the opposite and be more sans serif. Again, be more, use a serif font. Those are the two I'd recommend, sans serif and serif. But there's also script and decorative fonts. So these are more creative, classic, playful, unique, and they're also hard to read, which is why they're not as popular. And I've kind of lumped them together. So here's some examples of script fonts. As you can see, like I said, very hard to read. And it could work in certain cases or for certain things. I've seen a lot of restaurants use the script and more decorative fonts for menu items or wine labels, things like that. More artistic, maybe more creative type and more elegant type of businesses or brands. But yeah, again, not as popular. And then decorative, same type of deal here, especially phosphate. I've seen a similar variation of phosphate used in a lot of restaurant menus. Anyway, doesn't matter. So we covered typography, right? Only 2 more, guys. I know it's a lot, but I hope you guys have been finding it valuable at this point. If you are, let me know. Comment right now. If you're finding this valuable and you're still here to the end, comment yes below, just so I know. And I'm just curious to see how many people have made it this far. I hope you guys are finding it helpful. And if you're not, also let me know. I always want to improve, so let me know as well. Colors, okay? All different brands have all different colors. Little tip for you, or little kind of trivia in case you ever go to trivia. The 2 most common colors used for Fortune 500 companies, so the most successful companies, right? The 2 most common colors used are red and blue. That doesn't mean you should just automatically use red and blue. Actually, that's maybe even the opposite. But just a little tip for you, or trivia for you is most common color for Fortune 500 is red and blue. And you can go ahead and look at this on your own. You'll see that it is true. But of course, all different types of brands with all different types of brand personalities and archetypes and positioning and strategy and all of that. So you ultimately, what you want to do is identify the color, or the 2 colors, I should say. Try to find 2 colors that best represent your brand. Okay, so what I've done for this presentation, as you've seen, is I've used kind of a charcoal, kind of like an off black, a dark gray or off black, kind of a charcoal color with a gold yellow. Okay, these 2 together, I believe, best represent, this presentation and ultimately, my course, which is kind of where I pull a lot of this information from. But again, you can, like I said, go through this list and you can go ahead and pause. I'm just going to run through really quickly through these colors. And go ahead and pause and kind of figure out which color best resonates or best represents your brand, which color is going to best connect with your audience. Okay, so we have red, power, passion, energy, fearlessness, and excitement. Those are the positives. And every color has both positive and negative. So the negatives that red connotates include anger, danger, warning, defiance, aggression, and pain. Okay. Red logos include DoorDash, Canon, Chick-fil-A, Netflix, and Coca-Cola. A lot of restaurants use red. Orange. Orange represents, and positive emotions that it invokes include courage, confidence, warmth, innovation, and friendliness. I cut something out there, but it doesn't matter. Negatives include anger, deprivation, frustration, immaturity, ignorance, and sluggishness. Some very iconic orange logos include Harley-Davidson, Fanta, SoundCloud, the Home Depot, and Kayak. Yellow represents optimism, warmth, happiness, creativity, intellect, where negative connotations include irrationality, fear, caution, anxiety, and frustration. Yellow logos include Best Buy, Sprint, Lipton, UPS, and McDonald's. Green represents health, hope, freshness, nature, growth, prosperity. Negatives include boredom, stagnation, kind of like a swamp, right? Envy, bland, debilitation. Popular green logos include BP, Lacoste, John Deere, WhatsApp, Starbucks. Blue represents trust, loyalty, dependability, logic, serenity, and security, much like the endless and the deep blue ocean, the blue skies. But it can also represent coldness. So you think ice, right? Emotionless, unfriendliness, unappeasingness, unappetizing. Blue logos include Chase, Procter & Gamble, Intel, Ford, and Facebook. And this is actually, I believe, if my history is correct, the reason why at least American police officers and maybe others use blue for their uniform is to represent trust. It's also why blue blazers and blue is very common business wear, depending on what you're doing or where you're going within the United States. Again, to represent trust. We are always taught that to wear blue in college. Wear blue, in interviews, you'll subconsciously become a more attractive candidate, a more trustworthy candidate, which I don't know if that's true or not, but just a little tip. Also, blue is the favorite color of the world. Okay, most people in the world, their favorite color is blue. So likely your favorite color is most likely blue. My personally is red. Purple represents wisdom, wealth, spirituality, imaginativeness, sophistication. Negatives include reflection, decadence, suppression, excess, and moodiness. Purple logo examples include Cadbury, the purple mattress, which literally took that color and put that as their brand name, purple, Twitch, Yahoo, and Roku. Magenta, something a lot of people forget about, but magenta represents imaginativeness, passion, caring, creativeness, innovation, and even quirkiness. Negatives include outrage, rebellion, flippancy, and impulsiveness. Magenta logos, either that use it entirely or use it along, with their logo, include Glam Media, T-Mobile, Taco Bell, Lynx, and Barbie. We're almost done, guys. I know it's a lot. Black represents sophistication, security, power, elegance, authority, and substance. Negatives, of course, this is very powerful. Black and red are probably the most powerful colors that you can use, both positive and negative, so be careful. Be careful of the power. Negatives include oppression, coldness, menacingness, heaviness, evil, and mourning. Oh, and by the way, one of my lifelong dreams is to visit a black beach like this. I haven't yet. Maybe I'll go to like Hawaii or Japan or somewhere, but it's like literally one of my lifelong dreams. It's one of the most beautiful images I've ever seen. I love black beaches. All right, black logos include Nike, the New York Times, Apple, Puma, and Amazon. Yes, Amazon uses orange. They also use black in their logo, as you can see. White, right? White represents innocence, purity, cleanliness, simplicity, pristine, right? Think about a landscape like this, a meadow that was just covered down in beautiful snow. Negatives include sterile, right? I can think about like a hospital or something. Ugh. Sterile, empty, plain, cautious, distant. Logos that utilize white, again, in order to be able to use white on a white background, you'll probably need to use some other color. So yes, they are using black along with white, and this is very common. But again, as you can see, white is very, very present in their logo. So we have WWF, Versace, Gucci, Wikipedia, and Apple as well. Apple uses both black and white. Okay, so just think through what are two colors that maybe best represent your brand, would best appeal with your audience. Create some combinations. You look at Pinterest is another great source to just look at red logos, right? Yellow logos, or red and yellow, right? Just to look up different logos, and it'll kind of help you figure out what are some combinations that maybe best represent your brand. It can be a really, really fun process too. It doesn't need to be stressful at all. It can be very fun. But yeah, that's what I'd recommend as an action item. Try to find two colors that represent your logo or your brand. And then lastly, we are going to cover logo, the last part of this process, last part of our branding workshop. So logo, we all know what it is, but just to put a definition on it, a logo is a graphic representation or symbol representing your brand. We're very familiar. Here's just some insight. Twitter's logo versus BP's logo. How much did they cost each brand? Twitter's logo cost them $15. They had a graphic design, college student design, $15. BP's logo, they hired an agency. I think it was Landor. They paid $211 million. What's the takeaway? Very moral of the story? You do not need to spend a world-class amount to get a world-class logo. Okay, you can spend and be very, very efficient. And that's going to be the last slide that I cover. So one more: Nike versus BBC. How much did the logos cost? Nike costs $35. BBC's logo, $1.8 million. And I like Nike's logo better, and I think a lot of people do too, right? So just shows you more expensive isn't always better, especially when it comes to logos. So where can I kind of create a logo, or how should I go about creating a logo? Well, what I'd recommend that you do is not create it yourself unless you have graphic design experience or you're inclined graphically. What I would recommend that you do is to search online for similar logos that you like, and then send that information over to a graphic designer and have them kind of help you design a logo. So Pinterest, creating a board, finding some ideas on Pinterest is a great way to, and kind of putting them all together. This is an example of a real board that I have. I typed in like minimalist logo and found a bunch of minimalist logos that I believed well represented, you know, just things that I liked. And then you can send this off to a designer and describe and really help them design a logo for you. And also, you can take all the other information and data that we've covered thus far in this video, in this branding workshop, and you can send that information to them as well. Some logo criteria that I like to keep in mind: I like to keep it simple, distinct, memorable, strategic, and I always ask myself, does it appeal to my audience? It doesn't matter if I like it, does it appeal to my audience? Okay, that's a more important question. And lastly, this is the last slide, guys. Where do we get one of these beautiful, incredible logos? Some great inexpensive places they can get logos done. Again, some are better than others, and it really depends on what type of logo you want. But some places that I would recommend looking into include Fiverr, Hatchwise, Upwork, and FreeUp. These are all great sources to find designers to design your logo. And at this point, once you've completed this step, we've now kind of we've ran through the entire branding workshop, right? We've analyzed and created a strategy that our customers will never see, but is so crucial and fuels everything else. And we've designed all of those things that people usually think of when they think of branding, including your name, your logo, your tagline, colors, typography, and everything else. And like I said, if you guys really want to learn more, be sure to check out. I have a $10, the price may go up in the future, so just letting you know that, but right now is a $10 branding course. Link is in the description. For you, in case you're interested, I might also comment below with that as well. If you're interested, I go into a lot more detail than what I covered in this video. But regardless, I hope this was helpful. If you did, again, I appreciate giving me a thumbs up, hitting the subscribe button for more branding and other content as well that I can promise you you're going to find highly valuable. And leave a comment below. Whether you liked it, you didn't, you have questions, whatever it may be, leave a comment below. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And as always, honestly, thanks so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.